What's up, guys? So we're back again with another Q&A. This is someone that I want to just kind of expose to you guys and show you how she's kind of grown as a young woman. This is someone I've known for a long time, practically grew up with. But I think is somebody that can be inspiring and motivating and encouraging to all the young women out there, and even older women, just because of the fire that she has for Christ. And I just want to show that her life's been transformed, and that can possibly help or encourage anybody. So without further ado, Alexa. All right, so the first thing, I just kind of want people to know who you are. So you are, how old are you?
15.
You're 15, and where do you go to high school?
Bow Gardens High.
Bow Gardens High. And you play sports, right?
Yeah.
What sports do you play? I know this, but come on.
I play basketball and volleyball.
Volleyball. Which one are you better at?
Basketball.
Disagree there. No, she's super talented at basketball. She could be better if she let me coach her, but that's some time for another talk. So I've told this story to Daniel and Gabriel on the interview that I had with them. Because in sports, obviously you want to be competitive and you want to win and stuff. I don't know if I told you, I don't know if you heard or know, but there was a time where at Biota there's, oh yeah, I told you about the league, right? So there's this league, and I was playing, and these guys started going try hard. And like for me, it's just kind of like I'll score 20 and then whatever, get the win. I don't really care. It's just for fun. But these guys were going like really hard, like they were really going hard. And like there was an instance where I got chipped on my jaw, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna let it slide. And then another dude got hit on his jaw, and like they were playing aggressive, so I started going try hard. And there was a time where like you obviously know, like for basketball, like you kind of like troll the refs or like fool them, like you yank a jersey or whatever. And there's something that I do, like extend your arm out. And like what I'll do is I'll take advantage of them, and like I'll hang there. I'm like, ref, look, he's holding me. Like I'm obviously like taking advantage of it. And so I did that. But I passed the ball, and the other guy like went that way, and I was going this way. And so essentially, I like yanked his arm, like his arm was getting pulled, and like I yanked him, and he like tumbleweed over. He was like rolling, and like he got up real quick, and he came in my face like, "You don't have to do that." And I was like, "Well, then put your hand there." Like that's how I reacted. And at the time, I was like, "This dude better get off me!" Like I was literally like going hard. And then after that, I went even again. I like. There's some guy like about to take a charge, and I just fully went towards him. Like I put my elbow down, I hit him, he fell down, I scored, and there's like some girls on the side like, you don't gotta play that hard, like stop playing. Like I was like, whatever. Like they called the timeout, and I'm talking to my team, and I go back inside, and then it wasn't until like the Holy Spirit kind of nudged at me and told me like, you don't have to be playing like that. Is this how God would want you to be playing? And I was like, oh shoot, like I'm at a Christian school, and like I'm still playing like this is so bad. And like I subbed myself out. We were winning by like 20 points. So like I was like, I don't even have to play anymore. Like I'm just playing a play. And so I subbed myself out, and now I'm just kind of like watching. But you've told me several times where like you have interactions with players in basketball, and I don't know if you had some in volleyball, but how have you portrayed yourself as a Christian when you have those interactions when like there's tension, because it's competitive and you want to win. Like you want to play aggressive, you want to like do whatever you have to do to win, but like what's the limit, right? Like where do you stop and say, I'm a Christian, like I can't behave this way?
I would say for me, I used to be really competitive and care about winning a lot, but once I did become a Christian, like nothing really mattered to me. So I would literally just play to play, and like you would say, your pastor might, they'd be like, it's all for the glory of God. Like I'm not playing for myself, I'm playing for him. Mm-hmm. So when someone would like do me dirty, like shove me or something, it's just like, that's not me. Like even if I drop them, like I still pick them up and everything. So it's just like, the heck? So you just have to be Christ-like, and you do have to think about it, like sometimes it does get competitive, and it's like, you want to do things like that, like you want to run into someone on purpose and things like that, but you just have to think like, what would Jesus do?
Yeah, that's so huge, because like if you were to do that, someone would be so shocked. Like if you hit somebody and you're like, oh man, I'm so sorry, like let me help you out. Like they'd look at you like, the heck, like don't touch my hand.
Yeah, I did that, and the girl, like I dropped the girl and I tried to pick her up, and she literally slapped my hand.
Yeah, like how did you react to that?
I just like okay, and I just walked away.
You didn't do anything after that? Oh my gosh. So that's hard because like you were aggressive and then you were like, oh shoot, I'm a Christian, like let me stop this.
Yeah.
And they still like,
Yeah.
and you have to be like, oh okay, like you still have to kind of react and take that back. So that's difficult as a Christian, and kind of want to just highlight that. I know you're in high school, obviously, and part of being in high school is like fitting in, right? Being in a crowd and like being popular and like being known and whatever. How have you, like in your high school years, not try to fit in or not try to be in this crowd? Because it's easy to just like jump in and just be like, oh yeah, like I'm cool. It's just like this is where the party's at. This is where all the cool people are. It's easy to just do that and go by high school and no one knowing you're a Christian. There's a Christian club and like you said you've gone to it and there's only like a number of students. Like how has that, like being a Christian, how has that changed of how you interact with people?
Well, okay, so it's definitely like it's really hard being a Christian in high school, especially when people know about it, and it's like you're a target now, and it's like no one sees you the same, or like they assume that you're better than them, or you're perfect, and you have like a perfect life and things like that. So it's kind of hard, like you get made fun of and stuff, but then again, like when things happen like that, like that's your shot to do something about it, like to share the gospel, to like you don't have to stoop down to their level, or like talk back, or like try to do something about it. Like you just that's just what comes with being a Christian.
Yeah. So. All right. So for you, it's completely different because you're a girl, and so for girls in high school, like whether you do something good or whether you do something bad, like obviously someone's gonna criticize you. But I told both of the guys, like being a Christian, you're in a fishbowl. Like everyone's watching you, everyone's doing whatever you do. So however you react, they're gonna be like, "You're a Christian. Like, how are you a Christian? Like, look at the way you're acting." But there's still like these standards or expectations of like the world, not even as Christians, but just of the world. Like girls have to behave a certain way, girls have to say a certain thing, and if you don't do it, then you get criticized. And I saw a post not too long ago that said like if you're too skinny, you're anorexic. If you're too fat or too overweight, like you're fat and you're like you look nasty. Like how has being a Christian changed that for you?
Okay. So like the atmosphere,
where do you get your assurance from? Because because girls buy products, buy all this makeup, and like they get assurance from guys and all this, and like that's how they get like if you're too skinny, then people will tell you you're too skinny, so they have to change because they're trying to look better for other people. If they're too overweight, then they have to change because they're trying to look better for. How have you being a Christian changed that for you?
I mean, you just have to understand like the things you do, it's not for yourself. So I mean, it's hard not to try to get people's approval because you want people to like you and you want their assurance and things like that. But at the end of the day, like it doesn't matter. Like they have no say in your life. Like it's nothing like that. So I would say like you just need to go to God for that. Like you need to pray about it and like get His assurance because at the end, like His assurance is the only assurance you ever need.
So how do you? Because there's people obviously like that mean a lot to us, and like we want them to like us, and we want them to like be there for us. How do you manage that? How do you say like, you know what, like I didn't get the assurance from you that I needed, or the help that I needed from you, but I'm gonna get it from God. Like what do you do in instances like, for example, to say it's your brother or it's a family member that you look up to and they're just not there, or like they don't assure you.
Yeah.
Like what do you do in instances like that?
I mean, it's really tough, but I would say like that's where your church family comes into because like you can go to them and it's like my church family can definitely like that's like my real family because what I have at church like I don't really have at home, so their assurance is like it means more to me. So if I need someone's assurance, like I know I can always go to them and like things like that.
And I like that you said that you can always go to your church family. And I kind of want to shift gears and ask you, being in that environment, like because I obviously have known you for a long time and I know your family situation. How has being a Christian changed the way you are towards your siblings and towards your family? Because it obviously changes everything. Like you can't, your mom tells you go do this, and like kids typically at your age at 15 are like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, no, what the heck? Like, but you're a Christian, so how do you behave? And like, how has being a Christian changed all that for you? Like how you interact with your brothers?
So my brothers, before, like, I was lost, so we would always, like, I mean, it still happens here and there, but with my other brothers, we would just argue a lot and, like, things like that, but, I mean, I always just try to be the bigger person, and it can be hard because I'm the youngest, so it's, like, it's annoying, like, why do I have to be the bigger person when I'm the youngest, and they're older, so they should be the bigger person,
Oh my God.
So it's definitely hard to be the bigger person, but that's, like, you need to be Christ-like, and you need to show those things, and they start to see those things, and they see Christ in you, and they see you changing. So that definitely.
All right, then the last thing before we start or heading to conclude is obviously I know your situation at home again, and so I know that your dad hasn't been as often or around as much as he would like or as much as you would like. So how has that been for you again, like as a Christian, knowing that your dad can't be around or isn't there, present, or isn't a good role model? Because you know that I grew up without a father. Daniel and Gabriel both grew up without a father, but you have one, and he's just, for you, is not what God would want him to be like. So how has that been for you?
It's been difficult, but I don't know how to say this. Okay, I mean, it's been hard, and like progressively, like things get better, but then they get bad too. So I feel like sometimes it just comes down to me because I'm the one who knows more, and I'm just, well, not like that, but like I have Jesus, he doesn't.
Yeah.
So I just had to, like, I don't know, like, he was in the faith, and I know that once you have it, you can't lose it. So, like right now he's a little not on the right direction, but I do believe that he'll come back to the faith, and I feel like there's nothing I can do to change our situation, but like all I can do is just pray. And I mean, if it happens, it happens, and I believe it's gonna happen. So it's just about the timing and about waiting. But yeah, it's hard. So.
Yeah, and everyone's family is toxic. Like everybody has somebody in their family that's like just crazy or overboard or just normal family problems. Like no family is perfect. No family's like got it all together. There's not a 1, 2, 3, 4. Like we got it all checked off. Like family's crazy. And so aside from your intermediate family, how has like your outside or bigger family looked at you, and how do you manage yourself? Because people know you're a Christian. And so how do you walk around like in your tia is like, oh, you go to church now? Like since when? I knew you were over here doing this and this and that. Like how do you manage yourself? Like how do you control yourself in times of pushback? Because there's teachers out there, like you've told me that there's teachers that will say something like, oh, the Bible's wrong, blah, blah, blah. This is like, how do you handle the feedback, or how should we Christians react to feedback like that? Because it'd be so easy to just be like, let me pull out the facts for you, girl. Like, let me show you the truth. Like, this is the truth, and you don't know anything. But how should Christians really behave in times like that?
I would just say, like, so you're saying if they were to, like, wait.
If you get pushback, like, oh, you're a Christian, or
the
heck? Or...
Well, for me, I don't really, like, have a bunch of, like, extended family or that I talk to or anything. So it's mainly, like, people who I used to be friends with. So, like my past, I barely became a Christian, like, since 2017. So before that, I was just your typical worldly, when I tell them, like, oh, I'm going to church or this and that, like, they're like, why you go to church? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, like, you weren't like this. You would do this. Like, they bring back my past. And it's kind of just like, okay, like, people can change, And it's just like, just because I used to do that, like, I'm a completely new person. Like, I'm new, I'm changed. Like, that's the old me. Like, just forget about it. So I guess you just have to, like, look back on how much you've improved. Mm-hmm. And you just have to be like, okay, like, yeah, that was the past me, but that's it. Like, that's not me anymore. I'm a new person. I'm a new, like, The
Bible talks about, Colossians 3 says, you take off the old self and with its practices, and you put on the new self, right? And so that's hard, because a lot of Christians just in general get pushback and saying, like, that's not who you were. Or even people that grow up at church, when you make a mistake, they're like, oh, but you're a Christian. I'm like,
just assume, like, you're perfect and you don't make mistakes, or you have everything together.
And that's like, it's hard because you have to control it. Like, the Holy Spirit's got to be there for you and, like, telling you, like, don't snap on them. Like, that's because if they look at you, like I said, like, you're a fishbowl. If you react a certain way, they're going to be like, everybody's like that. And that's not the case. So the last 2 questions that are, and we'll use in closing, these 3, and I'll ask them to you. So how did you know in your heart that you had truly turned away from the world and decided to follow Jesus? Like, how did you know, like, okay, you know what, this is it. Like, I'm done with all that stuff. Like, I'm going to go and follow Jesus.
So I knew. So when I first started coming to church, like, I think what scared me more, what I believed in more was hell, basically. Like, I started coming because I was genuinely afraid, you know? But I mean, that's not right. But that's how
you were scared of
yeah, I was,
going to hell. Okay.
you know, I didn't want to die and go to hell. And I didn't even know who Jesus was. Like, I didn't know anything. But I don't know. I knew I was saved when, like, I started to see myself change. Like, when I was in 8th grade, in like 7th grade, I would always cuss and say all these stupid things, and I would always pray about it. Like, I want to stop. Like, I don't want to be that ignorant person who says all these things. And
speaking like the foolish.
Yeah. So, and then I was literally praying about it so much, and then I started going back to school, and then I wasn't cussing and I wasn't talking like them, and I didn't want to be around the people who did that. And then my transition from 8th grade to my freshman year, it was really hard because I had to distance myself from those type of people. So I just knew, like, Jesus was working in me because I saw myself changing, and I knew what I wanted, and I wanted a relationship with him, and it just grew. So
yeah. Gabriel shared a little bit saying, like, he had to kind of distance himself from some friends. I remember the time my high school, I think it was my junior year, where, like, I was in a basketball team, right? And all these guys were saying some nonsense on, like, the previous night on Twitter. And I woke up to that and I was like, man, like, I'm done with this. Like, I already had been going to church, but I was like, I can't be hanging out with these kids. And, like, I remember walking around the entire school by myself because I didn't have any friends. Like, I didn't know anyone else that was Christian. I didn't know any, like, I had other friends that, like, I could have hung out with aside from the basketball team, but that day everyone decided to be absent. And so I was walking around, I went to a teacher's classroom and I hung out in there with the teacher. And then I cried in one of my classes. Like, I put my head down and I cried, and I was just like, man, God, like, give me some friends, like, that are, you know, not worldly. So there's definitely a changing point, and that's what we call sanctification, being transformed. It means to be set apart, and being, when you're sanctified, you're set apart from the world, right? You're in the world, but you're not of the world. And so the last thing I want to ask you is, obviously, like, you've been exposed to that, so you know what that's like. You've had those friends. After being exposed to all that stuff and knowing that you can have all this money, you can have, like, you can date guys, you can, like, go and do all this, like, after knowing all those things, why do you still choose to follow Jesus? Like, because the world sees it as, like, you can have it all. Like, this is all for you. Like, take it as you want. Why do you choose? Like, what is there in Christianity? What is there in Jesus that you can't get in the world? Like, why were you following Jesus?
I would say, like, just love. Like, the love you have for him and feel from him is just like no other. And no one's ever gonna love you as much as he does. And it's just like, you can literally just talk to him about anything. Like, he's your friend, he's your savior. So that just makes it, like, 10 times easier to know he's there. And I would just say, like, I don't want to leave from this, you know, like, because what I have here, like, I can't get it from anywhere else. And it's not temporary. Like, people go to parties, they drink, they smoke, but that's all temporary. And Jesus, it's forever. Like, you know, like, when we die, we're with him forever. So
Amen.
It's all in the long run.
All right. So that's the conclusion to our interview. I hope that this encourages somebody, and that this can motivate you to turn away from your sin, and know that if you're out there and, like, you have those friends, and you know, like, you deep down inside, you know, like, this isn't right. Like, I shouldn't be doing this. Turn away. Like, you can easily turn away. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to people that I've interviewed, and they can tell you. You can reach them out and get to know them on a personal level, and just turn away from that and be with Christ, because that's essentially what's going to give you everything you need. So if you haven't, I would say follow this page, like it, comment, subscribe, and just let people know that, you know, we're all broken, we're all messed up, and we all need a Savior, and it's Jesus Christ. And if you choose to follow him or not, it's up to you.